gotta poop or get off the potty, honey.
Let's get going.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Outspoken Gents podcast. I'm Cody. What's up, fellas?
What's going on, Cody?
What's up, guys?
You know, we want to bring you guys a little bit of a different show this week, and we're going to bring up just a single topic, and we're gonna go from there. This week's topic is going to be: should NCAA athletes get paid? Okay, so we have a bunch of questions written down, and things we want to talk about, but just right off the top, what are you guys' initial thoughts of whether or not NCAA athletes should or should not get paid? And yeah, go ahead and dive in.
Should not.
Should not.
Should not.
John's a big should not. Johnny's a should not.
I'm a should.
You're a should. Okay.
They definitely should be getting paid.
So.
Well, you should rethink that. Yeah.
Why should I rethink that?
Okay, so why, Doug, why should they get paid?
So NCAA athletes should get paid because they are basically working as slaves right now.
Oh,
now, hear me out.
You can't say it. Yes, I don't think you should.
So these big
cut it out.
Big corporations. These big corporations are just raking it in, just bringing in the money by the load, just banging these athletes right in the ass, making sure that they go out and they do what they want them to do. And if they don't go do what they want them to do, they're gone. They're cut. They lose their education. They lose everything. They lose their livelihood. If they don't produce for that school, then they lose everything. They don't get anything. If they get injured, yeah, they get taken care of for that season, but if they're not able to produce in the next season, they're gone. The NCAA...
I don't know if that's 100% true.
I mean, not for the top dogs, not for the guys that
are
huge producers.
Not for any sport other than football. That's the only sport that applies to, because everyone else is one and done. So
football brings in the most revenue out of any other NCAA sport by a huge margin.
Football is the driving factor in this conversation, which is why I chose it, because all four of us are football guys. It is the driving force in this, because if you look at programs, on Saturday mornings, they are making billions of dollars, okay, and spreading it around to whom, really? I mean, the conferences who disperse it back down to the universities. I mean, who gets that money?
So the schools actually buy for each year. They don't make as much money as that because they do put money back into it and they disperse it differently. But last year, the most valuable teams, as in the most profitable teams, the two top ones were actually very surprising to me. Number one is Texas A&M. They had $107 million in profit. Their revenue was $148 million. And number two, we're going to go hook 'em. Texas Longhorns
we sell more fucking hoodies than anybody.
They had a revenue of $133 million, but only profited on $87 million. But you say only that much. How much? These kids aren't asking for you to pay them like NFL athletes, and nobody's expecting them to pay them like NFL athletes. But they should be getting paid more.
Let's hear real quick. Why not? Like, why shouldn't they get paid?
Who's going to pay for it all?
John. Okay. All right. Valid question.
The schools are going to pay for it. So you don't think they're going to try to make that money up anywhere? You think they're just going to say, "Oh, we make $100 million a year, so now we'll pay them 30 and we'll keep 70." No. So all the other fucking students are going to have to pay for that money. They're not just.
So how much do the coaches bring in? What Nick Saban's bringing in $100 million contract over the next 10 years?
Yeah, Nick Saban deserves every effing cent of that.
Yes,
of that
100% agreed. And their profit is $59 million. They had a profit of $59 million, but their revenue was $127 million. So you put $1 million aside for 150 athletes. That's how many usually the team holds.
On a football team.
Yes, on the college football teams, they have anywhere between 100, 150 athletes. Now you're telling me that you can't put $1 million aside for them to make sure that they're taken care of, so that the ones that don't make it to the NFL have something to go back on because they gave everything they had to this university. And what? They gave them a fucking piece of paper saying that they have a degree now? Whoop-de-fucking-do.
I think that's a pretty big deal. I don't think that's anything to shake your head at. But what's the ideal salary that you're thinking that they're going to accept then? $5,000 a season? Because if you think NFL players bitch, wait until these guys start bitching. And then what? Then high school's bitching? Then middle school's bitching? Or high school kids
When does it stop? When does it stop?
What?
They're already.
I mean, you have to make it to college. They had 2%, like less than 2% of high school athletes make it into the college.
They have an absolute point. Because what about the games that you see on Friday nights at the beginning of football season? That's ESPN's high school football showcase. Against the two top teams.
You're gonna let Mount Carmel's not getting paid.
So how many different high schools are there that kids are out there playing high school football? And then you have private schools. Where we're from in Las Vegas, there's one major school that blows everybody out of the water now, and that's Bishop Gorman. They have $1 million facilities. Mm-hmm. They get paid for everything. They have scholarships to go to that fucking high school. They have other people that pay for it and everything like that. You don't think that that's where it stops? It stops in high school. It goes into college. There's one governing body for college football, and that's the NCAA. And then there's the NAIA, but that's completely different. So you have the one governing body that does that. Just like in the NFL, you have the NFL, which is the governing body, and then each team pays their players according to that. They have a salary cap, but each team pays according to that. The NFL doesn't pay for that. Each team does.
But that's just football. We got to think about basketball. We got to think about all sports. We can't just pay football like that.
So it goes based off of their revenue, the school's revenue per sport.
Yeah, but then what?
Set a percentage aside for that.
But no one's going to a fucking track and field meet.
More people are going to a track and field meet than they are to women's softball or women's lacrosse or women's soccer. Track and field brought in $1.3 million last year in revenue. He's right, John. Track and field is actually one of like the kind of big money makers because they have some TV contracts associated with them, which means a lot of additional ad revenue and things like that for the school. You know what I mean? Additionally,
that's like when we go to Illinois College, and they got such nice facilities. It's because this is broadcast on some small but major local network, and they need nice facilities.
Additionally, a lot of those kids that play football also play track and field.
So no high schools pay athletes then?
So what?
So no high schools are going to pay athletes then?
I'm not saying no high schools would pay athletes.
Remember,
they're not adults. They're not adults. That would be against child labor laws, correct?
Johnny, what were you saying?
Do you guys remember that high school? So when I played football here in Texas, do you guys remember that one fucking football team that got a TV show? Do you guys remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Hoover, Alabama. Yeah,
no, it was here in Texas.
It was Hoover, Alabama.
Hoover, Alabama.
It was on MTV.
Well, I've never heard of any of it, so I don't know.
It's called, I believe it was called Friday Night Lights.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. That's still not what I'm talking about. So no, it's definitely a Texas school because I played them, and they had fucking cameras and shit when they came out and played. So I was
Texas football is a whole nother animal.
Mm-hmm. Okay, exactly. So that's what I'm saying though. This is what we're getting at. So we're talking about Texas versus fucking Nevada.
You could be talking about.
We have fucking stadiums. We have full-blown, fuck Gorman. We have full-blown stadiums. I could show you my high school over here, and it's way out of the fucking park.
Gorman rivals most of the facilities in Texas. Well, I mean, they might hold more in Texas.
And I played on this one. So.
Yeah, I think Texas stadiums might hold more, but as far as how nice the facility is...
They might play up at the Star every other Friday, but they're not,
Anyway, so there was a high school.
Anyway,
so there was a high school that was out here that got paid. They got paid through. The players themselves didn't get paid, but they got paid through the fucking TV show. And Gorman isn't even somebody who's getting that type of publicity.
Gorman doesn't need it.
So, and then you talk about this.
Yeah, some of these
but
schools
the name
don't
of
take
their
it.
field,
We're talking about money. We're talking about money. This is all we're talking about. We're just talking about the money aspect, correct? Should they or should they not get paid? So what we're getting at now is like it's all about where the location is. It's all about the locations. You're talking about some of these schools are not going to get any fucking publicity at all. So some of these college schools or whatever suck. Nobody wants to fucking watch them.
No one's going to Rutgers games.
Yeah, nobody gives a flying fuck about them. So then you have these bigger teams, Alabama, you got fucking, UT, LSU, all these other shits. And like, you think because of how much revenue they bring in alone that those players should get paid. But were they always playing? Were they always playing for UT? Did they jump from a different school sometimes? Like, there's a lot of factors that go into this.
That's why it should be paid per the school. NCAA is the governing body. NCAA, why is that fucked up? You have to be good enough to make it to that school. They're not going to accept him or Joe or fucking anything.
Then the school, then it shouldn't be about the school. It should be about the player.
Well,
no, it shouldn't be about the player because then you're getting
whatever they bring in.
You're getting
because then you're getting
100
into
150.
That's what I'm saying, dude. You can't do
There's
that.
150 players.
It's way too fucking. It's not cut and dry.
It's not cut and dry. You can't just.
There's no way for it to be
the school.
And when something's not equal, it starts getting fucking shady. And when shit gets shady, it goes bad.
That's when you start getting player agents and stuff like that in high school. And that's what people are trying to avoid right now because that's been a big deal in the past. There's been multiple scandals with, agents contacting players. And more so, I believe, in basketball than football. Because in football, it's a real grind. We see it every year. We see number one guys, go down. There was a guy, I think he played for Florida State, something Sweat, Jadavian Sweat or something like that.
Josh Sweat.
Josh Sweat, yeah, and he was just like the next coming of Jadavian Clowney. Yeah, he was amazing, and he goes down, and he ends up being, I believe, like a undrafted free agent or something like that for the Eagles. And his career was never the same. After he tore his ACL in high school. He tore his ACL like his senior year of high school, like the last game or something like that.
So now those players that are like so they have projections each year, right? These people are projected to be top 5 picks, first round picks, everything like that. So now they have insurance policies in case something does happen to them in their final year. The perfect example of that is Jalen Smith from the Dallas Cowboys. He was projected to be a top 5 pick out of Notre Dame. He was a linebacker out of Notre Dame. He destroyed his knee coming into the league. I think it was when the last half of the season, he destroyed his knee completely. Another one is Miles Jack.
It was
a
the
running back linebacker out of UCLA, and they both got big payouts from their insurance policies because they were supposed to be first-round picks, top high-flight first-round picks. So if they were not picked within the first 32 picks, they got a huge payout. And I think that Jalen Smith's payout was anywhere between $5 and $10 million. And the school has to, take that risk. So these are things that also get taken into consideration with that. Not all of these kids are going to be taken into that. And you guys are right. It's not cut and dry. So maybe there's some other stipulation to make it like a, per start basis. So if you have 5+ starts, then you get paid a different percentage compared to somebody who's never started before.
And then what happens when the coach's son shouldn't be playing quarterback, but he needs those 5 starts?
He's going to get fired. I don't think there's an issue with that at all.
You say that. We see this happen way too often. We see this happen way too often now.
In high school, not in college. Where do you see that happen in college?
Yeah, it's pretty tough in college.
College, yes. College
the one that comes out in my mind is the Coach Cal for Kentucky. His son was on the team, and then Dabo Sweeney's kid at Clemson. He plays he got a scholarship, and I think Herb Street's 2 kids got scholarships too to Clemson. So it's kind of
Pat Shurmur's kid was the quarterback for Vanderbilt, and he went undrafted. Or no, I don't know if he went undrafted, but he was a quarterback, and he got an invite to the combine. But there's different things that go on with that, so that's why I think maybe it should be like a per start basis rather than like you
And
guys
everybody
said,
get
like show cut
$100
and
and
dry.
tell them to shut the fuck up. Everybody gets $100.
Well, no,
Pay for
so
you.
they
Yeah,
do get a
no, 'cause
stipend, right?
Yeah,
Cody?
okay. So yeah, that's what I wanted to get into about like 10 minutes ago was how much college athletes currently get paid. As of 2016, college athletes receive a living expense stipend, a stipend that, depending on the scholarship type, other aid, housing restrictions, sport, and other factors, could equal up to $1,600 a month or $400 per week. Grants and loans are usually used for lower tiered schools / prospects where less than 1% make it to the next level of their sport. So they already do. Major Division I athletes already do make a stipend of $1,600 a month. Now I am not sure. It wasn't clear in the research that I did whether that is just one sport or specific sports, or if that is all sports. But I'm going to assume
$1,600 a month.
$1,600 a month.
Okay.
That's cash in their pocket, because if you think about it, most of
That
their
is
food is
cash
already
in their
taken.
pocket. Yep.
Most of their food's taken care of, and then they also have their housing taken care of. For the most part.
Most of them
Food's taken
do,
care of.
but some of them use that. Yeah, food's taken care of, but some of them use that stipend to move off campus and do, cool party
Hood rat
things like,
shit.
hood rat
Okay.
shit.
Yeah.
So do you guys know the type of schedule that NCAA athletes go through on a daily basis?
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to get to was basically like these guys, like they work 2 jobs. You know what I mean? Like they go from being 18 and they play football after school to now they go from class all day long, and if you're not in class, you're usually doing something for football, whether it's lifting.
You have gym in the morning, conditioning early in the morning, like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, and then you have 2 different classes after that, and then you can go grab a quick bite to eat, and then you have another class, and then you have study hall, and then you have film time, and then you have practice, and then you have weights. Like it's a never-ending cycle for them. They might have like Saturdays are their easy days when they go play a game. They wake up, they go to the field, they get ready, and then they go play football. That's
They
their
get
easy.
pampered the night before. Oh yeah, they get massages. They break out the massage tables. The chiropractor's there. He's making adjustments. Oh, absolutely.
Fridays before games, going to get physical therapy, going to get freaking massages.
Oh, we're going to get an ice bath. We're going to get in the hot tub. Yeah, absolutely.
But
it is one of those things. You have all those, but you have all those perks. If you look at some of those facilities and some of those schools, I mean, they basically like if you could live in here, you could stay here as long as you want. This place closes at 11 or 12 o'clock at night. Okay, if you're doing anything after that, it's probably not going to be okay. You know what I mean? Or it's probably not going to be on the up and up. It's usually going to be a traditional, typical college excuse to go out. But I mean, some of those facilities and like even like I've seen videos of like University of Texas and stuff like that. Throwing a party in their locker room. You know what I mean? And like anybody can come. Let's have a party in the locker room. Of course, it was like a school-sanctioned event, and there was no booze or anything allowed. But still, it was kind of a cool thing. But that's my whole thing. Is they have all of the resources they need committed to them for 4 years, whether they want to graduate in 3 years, whether they want to graduate in 4 years, whether they want to graduate in 5 years. They have everything they need there at most places, if you just buy into the system. And a lot of coaches talk about buying into the system, and it's not just on the football field, it's off campus as well. So, I don't know.
So it's working 2 jobs where you're getting paid $1,600 a month. Does that sound right?
Yeah, and I'm also getting to go to school.
You're going to have to put the school tuition in there as a salary.
Yeah.
So that's above.
That's nothing to the schools.
That's not what fucking college is. College isn't for you to start making paychecks and get a W-2. Pay your water bill.
Right.
That's
Honestly, I think a lot more athletes
Get your ass on your
should.
field and get to the point where you can fucking make it in the NFL. I mean, what do they want? Everybody
these
wants
guys,
to be fucking.
They're not working at a gas station, dude. They're playing college football. They're what? They don't get anything out of playing on Saturdays. You're fucking.
And
nuts.
that guy at the gas station is probably making more than they are, but they're going to school, so that's better, right?
No, I don't think you could compare a gas station attendant in Detroit to a third-string Notre Dame quarterback. Can't do it, man. That third-string quarterback's living the dream.
Mm-hmm.
Parties, facilities.
It's not
he's a
Blue Mountain
fresh-
State.
It absolutely
Fresh fruit.
is. At some places, Doug, it absolutely is.
Not
know.
so
Not
much
always the
anymore.
case.
It's not always
so
the
much like that
case.
anymore.
But like there's been rumors
You gotta
about even
work
some
for
of the
it.
best
Just work
places.
for it. What happened to that? Just work for it. Like, why the fuck? Like, work for it. Like, you want to be in the NFL, you gotta fucking work for it. Like, people fucking are in the military and they make way fucking less, and they do fucking way more, and it's like. Nobody's fucking bitching over there. Like, just fucking work for it. You want to get.
But Johnny. The point is that you're basically somebody created an organization that profits off of the likeness of its players, of the players that it governs. Now, and the player has no rights otherwise. They have no labor rights. They have no right to salary. They have no right to make their own income. They have no right to any of their likeness.
They own your rights.
They own your right. Their universities own your rights for as long as you're at that university.
And
And
NCAA owns part of that too.
And the NCAA absolutely owns part of that as well.
So some of these players. Go ahead.
They own your rights because they're letting you go to school there.
They're letting you go to school there. You didn't earn it. You're saying they're letting you go to school there. But
they're letting you
about
go
earning
to school
for it
there.
and working for it. You guys just said you have to earn it and you have to work for it.
That's if you fucking work for it, they're gonna let you go there.
Yeah.
You have to work for it in order to for them to.
So you have to work for them to let you go to school there.
So, honestly, one of the things that I wanted to get to really quick was the whole Ed O'Bannon thing. You guys know about Ed O'Bannon?
Yes.
So Ed O'Bannon was a basketball player for UCLA, and he and a bunch of other college athletes are getting together and suing the NCAA for the use of his likeness in the NCAA March Madness video game. I don't know the dates on that. I don't know, in like 2000s, early 2000s.
They won that. Yeah.
They won that, but it's
the appeals process still.
It's in the first real suit of the NCAA of its kind. The class action lawsuit ruled that the current NCAA guidelines violated antitrust laws. So,
I mean, they use their
interesting.
likenesses all the time, even that as well. So, have any of you ever owned a college football, college basketball, college uniform with a number on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know who that player was?
Yeah.
Who it was for?
Yeah.
That player
Mandel.
didn't get any of that. I'm sure you weren't the only one who bought that person's jersey because it was that person's jersey.
How does the NFL work with that? Like, do you get a portion? Do you get a portion of those sales?
You get those sales.
Really?
Most of them get those sales.
I don't think you get 100%. It's a
royalty.
Get a
majority of them, but yes, they do get those sales. In the NCAA, they don't get any because they don't have a name on those jerseys, but they have a name on their jerseys on Saturdays. But the jerseys that they're selling, they do not have a name on them. How many people out there you think had Reggie Bush jerseys? How many people out there had Vince Young jerseys? You name any one of the top stars from any one of those universities. Tim Tebow, you can go on and on and on and on. None of them ever got a single cent of that money, even though people are walking around with their jerseys, something that they worked for. People went out and bought those jerseys, and then they're just getting that money. That's just NCAA and the freaking universities are just pocketing that money.
Yeah, well, you know what? Quite honestly, you could make a case that Reggie Bush got his money.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking at Sam. Another thing too, and I wanted to just before I lose it. Sam Ellinger, right? He plays for UT. So he's fucking business majoring, right? And he's getting that for fucking free, right? He's getting that for fucking free. But listen, social media pays you to be verified, and on top of it, however many followers. Yes, don't start with me because I know how this works. Yes, they do. What? Yes, he does. You're gonna tell me that that's not his profile when he's not talking about his wife on here?
So he's not allowed to accept that money. There's a player. There was a kicker that played for the University of Central Florida.
A fucking kicker, bro. We're talking about quarterbacks, bro. Come on.
He was a kicker, and he had a YouTube channel.
Yeah, and he was really popular.
Which is what people do, right? That people are known for getting paid off of YouTube, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he had a YouTube channel where he did trick shots, and he was getting paid for it. He was getting money for it. The NCAA found out that he was getting money for it. They banned him. They kicked him out. They said he was no longer eligible to play in the NCAA because he accepted money from an outside source.
That means he loses his scholarship. He can't go to school there anymore unless he wants to pay his own way. And he definitely, for sure, can't play football there or anywhere else.
Patrick Mahomes didn't make no fucking money before the NFL.
I'm not saying that they didn't make any money, but it was underneath the table. They cannot make any official money. So your argument that Sam Ellinger is making money because he's verified on those social media platforms is not correct.
So you bring up a good point.
Receive any monetary value for his anything outside of NCAA because the NCAA owns his rights.
You bring up a good point.
If he did, he would be kicked out. He would not be allowed to play any NCAA sports.
You guys kind of brought up a good point, where we all kind of know that this is happening underneath the table to a certain extent at different places at different times for different reasons. This all happens under the table quite a bit. And whether it's $500 or it's, a leased car or it's an apartment or, we've heard of, countless stories, whether it's just full-on bags of $20,000 in cash at your front door.
Some of these people like Patrick Mahomes, he could sell his fucking name. He could write his name down if he wanted to and quote unquote have someone else sell this, we're all talking before he was in the NFL, obviously, but he could technically sell his fucking
by a third party. He just have a third party seller.
Yeah, that's happened. That's happened before.
Johnny Manziel actually got caught up for that.
Yeah, he got caught for that.
Okay.
Johnny Football, your boy, Johnny Football.
That's my boy.
Yeah, he got caught up for that.
Okay.
The NCAA has investigators that walk around facilities. They get one single little tip. That's something. So for instance, Johnny Manziel.
If some guy on campus all of a sudden had 20 fucking cards or not even cards, like let's say, some memorabilia from the, whatever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they start figuring out that this person's getting sold. Yeah, okay, I get that. But I'm talking about you got to be really fucking smart. You got to be all over the place. You can't just be selling to fucking Tom and selling it to Peter. You got to go through.
You know how good the NCAA is that they go back and then they fine you backwards for it. Reggie Bush and Pete Carroll were both in the NFL when they went back and they freaking put those sanctions on USC.
Reggie had to give back his Heisman.
I'm just saying you're not going to catch it all. You're not going to catch it all, and they all do it. They all do it. I think a lot of them do it, and we would hear about it way more often because these kids aren't fucking. We
hear about
stupid.
it all the time.
Okay.
We hear about it all the time now. It's going on. It's happening all the time. These coaches don't want to hear about it. They left out. They know that that person's over there and they know what they do, but they don't hear it from the horse's mouth. So then they're not liable for it. That's what goes on. That's what happens.
Do you think they should be able to sell their memorabilia then?
Yes.
They should be.
And make profits for it.
That's your fucking name.
Be able to sell their likeness.
So now they're making money on top of it.
Yeah, I can do
salary.
that. I can definitely be okay with them being able to sell their likeness.
Making a salary.
I'm not. I don't think that's good.
Really
I don't want them making money off of just because they play college football.
They're making a universal basic income because they play
during
sports.
the school year too. They don't make that over the summer.
Yeah.
That's when I would be starting to sell. I'd be selling my ass out there.
You know who'd be someone good to have on during this? Our buddy from high school. Because I remember him talking about stuff when they were in school. This was right after the sanctions. And then they were talking about how they had like a used car dealership that was just down the way they would go down there and that they would, get these they would get a hookup.
I gotta
from this
bleep
guy.
out. I gotta go bleep out those names. Yeah, we could reach out for a comment. It happens everywhere. Yeah, John.
I just think it's already a shit show.
Okay.
But then they wrong one person, and then look what happens. Look what happened to SMU. SMU was one of the biggest programs in the United States for football.
If you're gonna put in this money, if you're gonna start paying people, it needs to be fucking standardized. You cannot let somebody from a different school pay these kids more than somebody else. Okay, so everybody has to make the exact same money. All students.
Well, why is that?
From the kicker, because it has to be even. If you're not even, then people start cheating to get an upper hand in it all.
Yeah.
This shit has to be
then
even.
People start
Jimmy Garoppolo
pushing.
From Eastern's not gonna be able to fucking sit there and pay Jimmy G all this money because he's the only hot thing going right now.
I said that earlier, though. I said that you make it an even percentage, but then you guys were coming out saying that, no, you can't do that because then people are going to start doing this, people are going to start doing that.
I don't think we should.
Based off the revenue of the school, because the school is what should pay them. So I think you're right. I think that it should be the same across the board, but it should be per school. So if one school makes more money, then you're just having a business battle between the schools. It's not really between the players.
Well, and then you got 20 quarterbacks all trying to get into Alabama. Your top 10 quarterbacks are all trying to get into Alabama.
Because that's where they're going to make the most money,
because
right?
They think that they can get more signatures. It starts becoming about money instead of being about fucking football.
Yeah.
What this turns into.
But then you're not going to play.
Money
There's only
everything.
one quarterback. There's only one quarterback that plays on Saturdays. And then that's up to the coaches to bring in for the best players. They're not going to fucking try and all these kids are going to try and go to the school.
If I'm the third, to their point, if I'm the third stringer at Alabama and I can get paid an extra $2,500 a month,
yeah,
rather than going to Southern Mississippi where I could be a first stringer, but I'm still, because of the percentages, I'm only going to be making $2,500 a month.
So I would rather go to university. I would rather go to Southern Mississippi or
really.
Said.
I'd rather than nobody
if
get
I'm going to
paid.
be a first stringer to be on the field and playing, because USC was the ultimate goal.
But
the ultimate goal is to go to the NFL.
But the starting quarterback, because of the whole percentage thing that they were talking about, hypothetically speaking, bear with us for a second. You have the potential of making, say $50,000 a month during the football season to be the starting quarterback at Alabama. And
you got to think about it too. In 4 years of playing at Southern Miss, even if you were a starter all 4 years, you did a pretty decent job. You weren't nothing crazy, but you did enough to be, the starter all 4 years. Maybe you went 5-10 or whatever the hell they played all 4 years. Kind of sucked, not bad, not horrible. If you waited 3 years at Alabama until you were a senior, and then you fucking skyrocketed because Alabama was your shit, you're going to make more money in 1 year selling fucking signatures than you would have made in all 4 years at fucking Southern Miss.
Yeah,
people already do that.
Yeah, people do that. So that would be like Jalen Hurts getting demoted and getting a pay cut in the middle of the season a couple years ago, sitting on the bench all last year, graduating and then going to Oklahoma and making, the starting quarterback salary at Oklahoma, which, if your guys' little percentage signature world still reigns true, he would be making a very large sum of money for a 1 year deal before he goes to the NFL.
He doesn't deserve it for being the starting quarterback at a major school that probably is going to make the college football playoffs.
Well, again, I want to circle back to something that John said. Where does it come from? Okay, because if you can't really start taking all of the revenue from these schools and dumping it into a big conference pot and redistributing it evenly, Okay, you still need to keep, each school's revenue independent of itself.
We won't even have conferences anymore.
Well,
You wouldn't
that's
have
why
conferences
the
anymore?
You'll have fucking super college teams.
They
Your
already
top
do.
50 recruits are going to fucking Alabama, dude.
Right.
So now what happens to Kentucky football?
I think it ends up being more like the NBA and more like the NFL's becoming, where these guys tend to start, hey, let's team up. Hey, you get the left corner, I'll get the right corner, and we go no fly zone.
Dude, you're gonna have super teams.
No.
So they don't already do that?
They do.
No.
They do that.
They do that because how many? So Texas Longhorns. What is the past 5 years? How have they ranked in recruiting
They're great.
classes?
They have great recruiting, and they have been for the last 40 years. And we're the
Same
fuck
with
Texas
Alabama.
now.
Same as Ohio State. Texas might have a chance to make the college football final this year. That's how
Hell
good they
yeah.
I say that every year.
Ohio State does it. Alabama every single year has a top five recruiting class. Clemson, Ohio State, the same schools over and over and over again have top 5 recruiting classes because kids want to go there because they know that if they go there, they have a chance to make it to the NFL. So these schools are also somewhat at the top of the revenue scale. But they're not gonna dumb down the scale. They're not gonna lower the scale of profit or lower the scale of talent to bring in every Joe, Dick, and Ham that wants to come into the school. Who cares where the kids want to go? It's still the school's opinion and the school's recruiting process of who they bring in.
Would you say though, if you're gonna pay college athletes, tuition's gonna go up? It's not gonna stay the same. There's no way. It already goes up. It's gonna go up even more now.
Fluctuates bad too.
So what happens to your med students? What happens to your accountants? What happens to robotics kids that are working on inventions? Everyone's gonna be getting fucking paid salary to go to college.
Well, then maybe they'll come to the military and then they'll try and get free college through the military.
Well, I don't think that is going to stand up anyway.
Somebody still has to pay for that, Doug. I know, like you don't see it, but somebody still has to pay for that.
Well, that's why they bring in more revenue. So you push more revenue. You get actual likenesses.
Yeah,
so
but dude, when you're talking about
the NCAA March Madness video game, they'll bring back all the NCAA video games, which is more money on top of that. You know how much money they probably lost when those games went out the window? That was one of our favorite games that we used to buy every single year. Was it not?
What?
NCAA.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
You don't think that they get money for that? They'll get more money because they'll be able to sell bobbleheads, fucking action figures, fucking everything with likeness. You give the percentage to the player, and then you get that more. That brings in more revenue. Everything brings in more and more revenue. So why can't you help pay these players because you're using their likeness for those 4 years?
One of the ideas that I had was basically like all of the TV revenue, all of the conference TV revenue and ratings and money for that, any advertising, at a local level, at the schools, basically any of the advertising money or sponsorships or things like that would all get put into a fund, and basically everybody at the beginning of the year would declare what they needed to get through the season to make all of their games happen. Okay, and so they're given that money up front. Okay, and then all the other money was kept in a big pool or whatever until the end of the season, when there was a larger sum because of all the ticket sales and everything like that. That way if you're in a conference, you can kind of keep on one of these struggling teams. Everything gets poured into this big pot and then gets dispersed evenly. And then that too, at a local level, gets dispersed, appropriately down through the players. And that would go across all of the sports, both genders of sports, every gender of sports that you want to compete with. I don't know.
I don't agree with that.
Really? You think it's too much?
Yeah, I think it's too much, and you're trying to disperse the money to sports that don't bring in the revenue the same as other sports, just to make it an even playing field all the way across.
Yeah,
and that's not right.
Because we're already dealing with the women's soccer. Why are these girls not getting paid? As much as the men. And that conversation, which we're not going to get into right now at all, we're already dealing with that right now on a professional level, if you start paying people on the NCAA level, you're going to have even more questions and even more issues.
But then go look at a fucking chart that shows the revenue per sport. So football brings in an annual revenue of 30. It says for the NCAA, this is just for NCAA. This is NCAA revenue that they receive from each one of the sports. So football is $32 million. The next closest is men's basketball at $8.2 million. And then you have men's ice hockey at $2.8 million. And then the lowest, unfortunately, it is what it is, that the highest women's sport that gets the most money is women's basketball, which is $1.8 million. And then the lowest is softball, which is only $697,000. So you have to go based off of what each sport brings into your school. In a lot of these schools, they already do that, but they already do that by the way they give out scholarships. So most schools, you can't get a full scholarship for track and field. Most schools, you don't get a full scholarship for men's baseball. You know, a lot of these sports are, you know.
All right, Johnny.
You out of here, guys? Yep. I'm signing out, guys. I'll see you guys soon.
Just close the door on the way out, will you?
Huh? Yeah. I will. I'll close the door behind me. All right, you guys have a good one. Good night, Outspoken Gents.
Ciao.
Adios.
Are we keeping that in?
Yeah,
just
why
cut
not?
me off right in the middle of my fucking my rant.
Whatever. Shit happens. Go ahead.
All right, now that the Texas fanboy's out, it's time to get a little dirty.
What are you talking about? We still have the Texas fanboy here.
Yeah,
the real Texas fanboy.
I'm the real Texas fanboy. I fucking know shit.
He watches Texas Longhorn Network on the daily, on the hour, on the minute, every single time. He'll buy ESPN Plus just to watch.
And that's not how it works. I've called and talked to people at ESPN about why Longhorn Network is not available as an individual purchase. That I would pay them.
I'm surprised they don't have like an
I said that I would pay them
like on the public network.
They probably do, and it's probably more common here. But you know, I was like, no wonder this deal isn't profitable. It's because you guys don't broadcast this shit out everywhere that it needs to go, mobily and through ESPN Plus and other types of apps. But that's another thing. I mean, basically, what I wanted to get to next was basically, how could you see this go down? What kind of government intervention could we see? Can the NCAA itself enact some sort of reform, or do we have to see some sort of government interaction? Will we see a player union? Is an even better question. Will we see the players, at individual universities unionize and, basically start sitting out? I mean, that would be a really powerful thing. Yeah.
And even if the student body got behind that as well, they didn't show up to the games. So you had the team do a sit-in in the locker room. They didn't go play. They took the L for the week and they didn't go play.
Is that okay?
What if multiple teams did that across everywhere? What if you just had one single day? That would be horrible, wouldn't it? That would be terrible.
You want college football fucking lockouts? Are you nuts? Are you fucking nuts? What do you mean, why not? First of all, if they were going to do that, no college is going to sign off on possibly losing revenue for the week because someone's got their fucking butt hurt about something.
So on one Saturday, so say for instance one Saturday this year, they don't put it out, it goes just in between the teams somehow, some way, it doesn't get leaked out. They all do a sit-in. So then you have these cameras that are supposed to be here for fucking 4 hours to watch this game, to film this fucking game, but nobody shows up for the game. Nobody's in there for the game. So they just lose all of that revenue. And then you have everything going on with these schools, like what's going on. These schools are freaking out. They don't have the players stepping on the field. They're not going to bring in that revenue. Less people show up to the games. That's what I'm talking about, is that they lose that revenue if these players do not go on the field on Saturdays.
Yes, they do.
So why don't they pay them? Yeah, I backed you into a corner, didn't I, JC?
No, you did not back me into a corner. I'm gathering my thoughts. Hold on.
They should get paid because they are the engine that moves the car that is the NCAA.
So okay, but I don't believe for one second that the NCAA can put in a reasonable system, that makes sense, that's not too convoluted, that won't get a bunch of people into trouble. Because the problem is the NCAA is going to do this, right? And then you're going to have everybody hit with sanctions within the first year because they don't understand how this is done, or how to do this, or what to do, or because again, we still have to go back down to like the root of like how this happens. Like, is it a percentage? Is it the government coming in and say you need to pay these guys something?
Right,
you're
because
making
as of right now, they're not getting paid, right?
They are. They're getting paid $1,600 a month.
Right, but they're not getting what we're talking about giving them.
They're not getting any slice of revenue shares or sponsorships.
So you have to do court of law, and somebody has to make them change their mind about this, because
but they
it's not
can't
broken,
right now because the NCAA owns their rights. That's the huge issue.
Exactly, and if they don't fucking like it and they want to get paid and they don't want to go step out on the field, guess what? You got fucking replacement teams, bub.
Well,
There's always going to be someone to take over that spot.
So you're starting to see this in college basketball right now, where kids, high-profile recruits, are not going to play college basketball. They're going over to Australia.
Overseas. Yeah.
They're going to pro leagues so they can play and get paid for it, so they can focus on that. So I think that would actually be a huge step forward, say if the XFL decided to do that. Hey, kid, you're a 5-star recruit out of college or out of high school. Why don't you come play here? We'll pay you money. We'll pay for everything. All you have to do is you have to play football, and we'll be a stepping stone for you to make it to the NFL.
And then he tears his fucking ACL, and he doesn't have any money to go to fucking college because he lives in Gary, Indiana, where
why doesn't he sign a 3 or a 4-year contract with a player option at the 3rd year so that he can try and go sign for the NFL? Because that's basically what they're doing, right? When you're signing, when you sign your letter of intent, that is actually a contract saying that you're going to go play football and you're going to sign your rights over to the university and to the NCAA in order for you to go play football there, you to go play basketball there, you to go play a sport there. You sign your letter of intent, which is a contract. So why not just do that to an organization that lets you go play pro football, so all you have to do is focus on football?
Do you want guaranteed money for these guys that are signing 3-year deals in China?
For basketball?
Yeah.
So they're getting their money. They're getting paid. They're signing a contract and going and paying there. But basketball is a whole different story because they do the one and done deal, which is completely different. So they can develop in the G League.
It's got to be standardized. Even though it's different sports, it's the same fucking university. It's got to be standardized for that reason.
Well,
but they don't bring in the same revenue. They don't bring in the same money. So
but
if I'm a football player, I'm getting paid to the same person that's got a scholarship for fucking chess. How the fuck does that matter? How doesn't that matter?
It doesn't matter. It's just one school paying out. There's one person paying this thing, and it's whoever fucking owns the school.
So is there more risk?
Divvy that up. I don't even know how that begins to work.
So is there more risk in football, or is there more risk in marching band?
Okay, well, let's not. Okay, I see what you're saying, but now you're talking again about, guess who handles these issues? A union. Okay, if there's unfair work going on for not enough pay, then, I think that they absolutely have the right to unionize. I believe that's part of the Constitution.
That's what...
You will absolutely have blackouts. You'll have an NCAA lockout, or an SEC lockout. You'll have a Big Ten lockout. They'll all happen at different times. It'll be by different schools or different, in different conferences, and it'll be kind of ugly for a few weeks.
This has to happen by the players. This can't happen.
It has
the
to happen by the
universities aren't going to do this because
but you got to understand that there's a
share.
there's a fresh group, and like you said, to your point earlier, like you said, there's a fresh group coming in right behind it, ready to take those jobs, and we will call them jobs for this specific reason.
I just can't fathom. I can't believe we're talking about unions for players in college right now.
Should the professional sports leagues be obligated to pay into a program that pays college athletes? Should the major universities have to pay into the system that profit shares across? I already asked that question. Could you see certain sports become more like baseball or professional soccer, where you see kids go to a lot of like academies and year-round schools to train and study at the same time, like a football boarding school or a baseball boarding school or something like that. There's a few in Vegas. There's Bishop Gorman, which is pretty much good at a lot of sports. There's Findlay Prep, which is basically just basketball only, from what I understand.
Not anymore. Findlay Prep isn't even a thing anymore right now.
Right. You have IMG Academy down in Florida. They're one of them. But you have these like charter schools. I don't know if you've heard about them, John. They're like these charter schools that basically you just go there and you train. And it's like really big in like the tennis world, and like over in like Europe, a lot of the kids, they go to soccer. They get basically signed by a soccer academy at age 10 and go to school at the soccer academy and live on the grounds and get taught how to do things, and train 24/7.
I think a lot of this is going to end up start going the junior college route, to
Really?
where you go to a community college, a high-end community college like Blinn. A huge person from Blinn is Cam Newton. Cam Newton went to Florida, got kicked out for stealing laptops and shit, went to Blinn for a year, and then got signed to Auburn. And then he went to Auburn, and then he was the number 1 overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. Like, they can go and do that in junior colleges, are obviously less money, but it's more risk because they don't have as much. And I think that's what is going on right now.
Should TV rights and revenues be capped for universities, and the remainder dispersed among all sports, male and female? So basically what this option would be to, take the major, and I'm talking about Big Five conferences. That's the only people that this would happen to, because they're the only ones, I believe, with enough revenue to make a option like this succeed, is they cap the revenue, say like each team will get, or each school will get, their percentage of the revenue, and they're allowed to take in, as a university, 75% of that. The other 25% needs to go to the student athletes and dispersed accordingly among all of the sports. That could mean paying a chess player $1. That could mean paying a backup women's soccer goalie, 25 extra bucks a month. That could be, it could be something like that where it's like not fair, but it could be something where it's like everybody gets an extra $100 a week.
That's a good idea, but I think that falls back to the universities. So with my idea is the universities take their revenue and they give a percentage of that to the students. They put a percentage of that, because you're right. Those major conferences, that money, a lot of that money goes back into the school, which helps drive down the cost of tuition. But those tuitions are still going up somehow, right? But their profits are going up, their revenue is going up, but somehow the tuition's still going up. So money's getting funneled somewhere else. They're paying teachers, paying fucking presidents, whatever it is. So it should go by per sport, per university. You bring in more money for your university, for your sport, you should get more of a percentage. Football should get X amount of their revenue per that.
I agree 100%.
So
that's a great idea.
It's not going to be fair, right?
It's not foolproof. It's not going to be fair. There's still going to be people who try and get an edge, and again, they start paying women's soccer players an extra $10 a month, and they're paying their football players, their backup
extra
center is making their backup center is making $45,000 a year and going to school. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to end up like that. You realize it's going to end up like that.
They're on TV every Saturday. They're having millions
Texas
of people
A&M
watch those
will
games.
one day pay $45,000 for a backup center, and he's not going to pan out. Mark my words, it's going to happen.
But they're still going to be profiting. The university and the programs are still going to be profiting. They're getting paid hand over foot.
I mean, not if they're putting everything back into not if they're putting everything back into the facilities and back into the university.
Back into the facilities.
I'm not saying they are. They're not. I'm saying that there probably are some people very high up that make some really good money. But if they have good things going on at that program, then they should be making good money because they were the ones in charge of making all that happen. Okay. Like the guy at Alabama who went out and got Nick Saban. Like, he deserves to be making a lot of money. He went and found Nick Saban, you know?
He pulled him away from LSU.
He deserves a percentage of that. But a lot of these teams and a lot of these even the smaller schools, even the larger schools, they take on donations. And, like, you know, some of these rich millionaire alumni and boosters, they pay for the offensive coordinator that year. Yeah, hey guys, we got to go out and get a new offensive coordinator. They go talk to Dan and Dan and Mary, go talk to Dan and Mary. They're good friends of the program. Go talk to Dan and Mary. So what do you need? We need a new offensive coordinator. How much is it going to cost? Oh, 1.2. Okay. Now that guy's role is the Dan and Mary Mulberry offensive coordinator and run game coordinator. I mean, it happens at a lot of schools,
So back to our, tuition conversation. How tuition would go up, right?
Yeah, tuition would absolutely go up.
So right now, but we're also talking about how some people are making good money, right, off of the enrollment and everything like that, or the revenue from the football team. All that money is not going back into just the university, right? So. Just for example, at USC, the tuition per year is $53,000.
Yeah.
And the total number of students that go there are 44,000 students, or is the total enrollment at USC. So let's take away, football. So football and basketball, they get automatic, or they get full ride scholarships, right? Full ride scholarships for basketball and football. I think those are really the only two sports that you can get full ride scholarships for, 100% full ride. Most of the other sports, they cover, 75%, 80% of your tuition, and then the other 20% goes into, or like you have to find a way to pay that, whether it's Pell Grants from, the government or, student loans, whatever it is. So that's still a lot of fucking money that these schools are paying, or that these students are paying to go to these universities that they're getting their money. They're getting their money from student loans. They're getting money from grants. The schools are getting their money. So with the university bringing in that much money, so how much does the University of Southern California bring in? So they brought in, just in profit alone, they had $47 million in profit. And then
in their football team, or as a sport, as an athletic department?
In their football team, they had $47 million in profit.
They had $47 million in profit. That's it?
Yes.
The USC Trojans had $47 million in profit.
Just in football. And their revenue was $87 million.
So they spent $40 million.
Yeah. Somewhere else. And coaching staff, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, that's what they do. So all this fucking money here.
Okay.
Where's it going?
I don't know.
Where's this fucking money going?
Because those monies seem low.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's insane that we're even having this discussion, because they should absolutely get paid.
Yeah, but they take that $47 million and they put it they of profit, and they put in a new scoreboard. They redo the locker rooms. They save up for a couple of years, and then they start making payments on like a new practice facility. Here's a new training room the next year, and it's all
save up
advanced.
for a few years. Those players that are there right now are going to be gone in a few years.
Yeah. And then, the players that are going to be benefiting from that are, not going to be able to see, the 5 hot tubs that Coach Dabo put into the training room. We got hot tubs, like 40-person hot tubs.
So USC, I just did the math real quick. It's fucking crazy right now. So 40. So I did.
You did 44,000 times. Yeah, you did 44,000 times 54,000.
53,000. I did 43. So I took out 1,000 students for, if they get full ride scholarships, whatever it is, right? 1,000 students out of that, right?
Yeah. It's like $200 billion.
$2.3 billion per year.
In tuition.
Fucking joking?
In
tuition.
Yeah.
Just in fucking tuition. And you're telling me that it costs them so much that these players should not get paid. Well, $2.3 billion in revenue.
Yeah. Okay.
Just in tuition. That's
Just
not coming from boosters. That's not coming from any other outside source. That's just tuition.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other kids. There's not just 1,000 kids there that get a scholarship.
Okay, so how many want to do? Because it's still $2 billion.
There's probably 45% of those kids get scholarships of some kind.
Full ride?
Not full ride.
Right. So what
I'm saying different percentages.
But what I'm saying is that the school still gets that
has a potential of 2.3 billion, but they don't actually bring that in. I don't think they still get that money.
What do you mean? So if it's from an outside source, they get a scholarship from an outside source, the university still gets that money. So, for instance, in Nevada, when they had that whatever scholarship to where they paid for if you went to UNLV or you went to UNR, they paid for your school as long as you kept like a grade point average above like a 3.2 or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's an outside source that's giving you money to give to the university. So the university is still getting the money. It's not like it's fake money. It's not like the university is just eating that cost for you to go to school there. You get what I'm saying? Federal loans, you're getting student loans.
Yeah, no, I get it.
From the university, they're coming to you, and then you have to pay that to the university.
I get it, but I do.
University gets in, and you pay back on the back end.
Yeah, but I do think the university is giving like other kids like scholarships and financial scholarships of some kind. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying they're giving every kid a $2,500 scholarship, but they're probably giving everybody like a nice, $2,500, $5,000, dollar scholarship or something like that, just for depending on their grade point average.
No, it was $2.3 billion.
$2.3 billion
just in tuition.
And that's tuition that they get that money right away, right? Or we don't have a student debt program for $1.4 trillion.
No, because he's assuming that he's not okay. Let me start over. He's assuming that how many students? 43,000?
I did 43,000.
He's assuming that all 43,000 students, or that there's 43,000 students going to USC that are all paying at the very least $54,000 in tuition. I think that is really skewed.
It's ridiculous. It's not skewed. It's ridiculous.
I think it's skewed. I think that there's going to be a lot less people paying that full $54,000 because there's going to be in-state tuition type programs and other financial aid that doesn't go directly to the university. You know what I mean? One way or another. Like, it's a scholarship given out by the university. How does that come back to the university? I don't know how that works.
So how many do we want to do? Because it's still going to be in the billions of dollars that they're receiving in money. It's still going to be, even if it's $1 billion that they're receiving just in tuition cost, right? But to your point, JC, you said that it was part of the student loan crisis, right?
Yeah.
But who does that fall on? That doesn't fall on the university, right? When you pay for a car through a bank, so you go to the bank, they give you money, right, for the car, and then you take that money and you go to the dealership and you give the dealership that check, that money goes right into the dealership. The dealership doesn't have to wait for that money. And that falls on you to pay that money back. So that's in my name to pay that back. So if I default on that, the dealership still got their money. The bank just hasn't gotten their money. So right now you're saying the student loan crisis, that's against the government. That's against, whatever the federal student loans, everything like that. That the universities have nothing to do with that. They get their money. They're fucking debt free for all that matters with that.
Well, no, I don't think that that's. I don't think that that's true, Doug. I'm sorry. Honestly, I feel like I don't think the universities have the money to do it. Honestly, like I think they are perfectly equipped in making these decisions and making sure the place looks nice for the kids, and they have places to get their feet wrapped, and the best doctors and pre-med people or trainer people that are wrapping ankles or taping ankles and handing out water bottles. I mean, they got the best shit. They really do. I mean, they really do have cutting edge technology at some of these schools, and they're doing cool stuff as well on and off the field. So,
I think it's still
the one thing that I've been thinking about it is Greenville. We would say Greenville's making killer money, right, Cody? They gotta be reeling. They gotta be fucking cooking with gas, right? How much it costs to go there, and how shitty of a fucking school it is.
Is that a private institution or is that public?
That is a private institution.
There's
of these D1 private institutions, though, right? Isn't there?
Some of them, but a majority of them are public and state universities. So
it's $135 million.
For what?
Greenville. Per year.
That's how much they make?
Revenue?
From what I paid times 2,500 students is 35.
And there's no mansions out there. There's nothing upgraded. It's in the middle of the shitty.
We haven't been there in a while.
Town.
We haven't been.
Didn't you guys say that? Didn't you guys say that was like a Christian school too, like a hardcore Christian school, or Catholic?
Yeah, it's Christian.
So I wonder if there's a loophole to that, like there is the churches. They don't have to pay taxes because they're a religious school.
Yeah, man, because that was one of those places that like they pushed the paperwork through, and they just got you on the hook for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that money didn't. You had those people had student loans to where they had to fucking.
Well, and that's what happens. That's what happens at a lot of these lower schools, these lower tiered schools. Is if you want to play football, yeah, cool, come to my school, but it's going to be $27,000 a semester because we're a private school, and you're getting a private Christian education here. And while some of this may need to be cut out, like I think it's a little bit bullshit that you're going to basically take advantage of kids, and that's where this should be going, is the lower tiered universities. You know what I mean? And how do you pay those kids? Because those are the kids who it's just for it's for that really small sliver of a shot to either play 4 more years of football or for the very 1% of kids make it to the NFL.
I'm gonna reach. Okay, I'm gonna reach on something here.
Ruh-roh.
So there's probably what we were thinking 1,000 out of the. How many students went to USC? Was it 24 or 43?
44,000 kids.
So out of the 44,000 kids, there's 1,000 of them are scholars. How many of those are athletes? You think?
That's what I was saying.
2,000 maybe 2,000 athletes. Is that a lot?
Full scholarship though. Full scholarship, because what sports really pay full ride scholarships, right?
Well, I don't give a shit about full scholarship or not. How many fucking athletes are there?
What, how does that matter? Like,
Because
that's what I'm trying to say.
Because the other 44,000 kids are gonna pay $250,000 in in USC to get that on their fucking diploma, so that they can go make a couple $1,000,000 themselves at a job. They're not banking on professional fucking sports. There's way more students that are sitting there that are paying that money to go get a job that pays you $120,000 a year than there are athletes that are going to go make the big bucks within a couple of years. So it is worth for you to go pay $250,000 to go to USC so that you can try to further your professional career as a doctor or an accountant or whatever it is. You not get what I'm saying?
I'm not following you, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Not really.
Because while I understand what you're saying with you're paying for $250,000 at the end of it all, so you can go be an accountant and make that in a year and pay that back within 10 years or something like that. That I understand. But that's how college works.
Exactly.
That's the gig. That's the
right. So it's fine the way it is. There's no reason to change anything or care about how much revenue that they're making because that's what. But
that's an average student. That's an average student who goes to football games, who buys popcorn, who buys a jersey and a foam finger, and supports those guys out there. Meanwhile, Jack Too Tall, Jones, Ed Too Tall Jones. Anyways, I meant to say Jack Tatum.
Reference.
Yeah, excuse me. Reference. Damn it. Anyways, Jack Tatum comes across the middle and lays you out one day. You know what I mean? And now all of a sudden you can't go to school because you have a broken neck, and how are you, getting your bills paid? Because now the university's dropped your scholarship.
So now you have to pay like all the other kids are paying that don't have scholarships.
Yeah.
Back of the line.
So they used you. So wait, they used you for 2 years. They made a profit off your likeness, off of everything that you did. But now that you broke your neck and you're no longer useful to us, we're just gonna throw you out on the street, right?
But where do you draw the line though, Doug? Okay, because let's get off of that really quick. Where do you draw the line though? Okay, do you draw the line at paying each? We're gonna talk about football for a second. Are you paying each guy, is it going to be like a GM type system? Are we talking like a Madden GM type system where you have, $10 million at all Big 10 school or Big 5 schools, Power 5 schools? Each team gets $10 million to recruit this year. It's got to be on the books.
To recruit. They already get
no. Four salaries. It can be for recruiting, a salary cap. It could be for recruiting, or it could be for players currently on the roster.
Because it's never going to match how much revenue they make. You know what I'm saying? That scale is always going to be off. If they
gotta
make
do a
200
fixed fee. You got to do a fixed fee. You got to do $10 million flat for the football team for 2019. That's it. That's all you get.
Right. So what you're saying is, so how much is that? So how many athletes do you think are on a football team? 200?
No.
150.
150. 150. So
I would honestly say closer to 90, man.
On a hardcore football roster, there is not 150
you have
dudes.
Yeah, but there's like 55 who dress, and then there's 90. There's 90 guys actually on the team, so I would just do 90. If you do,
I don't even think it should be that much. So I'll go in the middle. I'll go with 100. So $10 million divided by 100, $100,000. I think that's too much. I really do.
But you have hold on. You have that to disperse over all of those 50, out of all those 100 guys, okay, and all of your recruits. So as
What do
like
you mean by
cash gifts,
recruits? Because the
like
recruits aren't
cash
a part of your
gifts.
system yet.
Well,
No, see, that's where you draw the line. The recruiting should stay how it is.
when you sign with our team, we will give you $200,000.
No, so that's where
Come
the
to our
governing
school.
body. That's where the
Come to our
governing
school.
body. The people already do that. Let's not talk about that. Like how people like,
The day
oh,
you step foot on
here's
campus.
$100,000 for your mom for you to come to our school. Not for you. It's for your mom. But come to our school.
Well, that was the
Right?
whole Cam Newton thing. That was the
Yeah.
whole Cam Newton thing that you went over earlier. You know.
So that's already being done for those kids to go to those schools. So it's going to happen regardless of whether or not the kids are getting paid or not. What I'm saying is that out of, USC's $47 million in profit, a percentage of that goes to each player. So 150 or 100 players.
And how
So
much? How much is? I feel like before you can make this argument either way, we have to figure. There has to be something. Figure out how much these kids are getting paid straight up.
each player.
Each player.
Each player should get, so it has to be a percentage, and it's hard to say what that percentage is going to be, and that's where I think the NCAA should step in and do whatever calculations they do, way beyond my capability, but it should go off a percentage of your revenue, should be brought down from the side. So 47 million is what USC's was. So you say a percentage of that, let's just
Wait,
say,
47 million is how much the football team makes in
yeah, that's
revenue?
that's that's what profit. No, that was just profit. So 47, hold on, 40, come on, I'm all fucked up now. $47 million is their profit scale, right? So how much should they save to pay the students? How much percentage of that should they save?
What's 1% of that?
So 1% of that is
$47,000.
$470,000.
Which is
And then
more than
divided
the
by
rookie contract.
but divided by 150 or 100 students is $4,700.
Is that
You
enough?
think that's fair? That's
I
not
think that's
enough.
enough. I think that's enough. I think that's more than
For the
enough.
year of football, you get paid
An extra $4,000
$4,700.
because they're already making what $1,600 a month. So on top of that, we're going to allow a $400,000 or a 1% of your revenue you are allowed to spend on paying your current players. That was the figure that John threw out, right? It was 1%, right?
Yep.
So you get $470,000 if you're USC to spend on your players for that year, and you can disperse it how you please. They are already getting $1,600.
So you want to throw in, what?
I say 10%.
Do the math on 10%.
I did. 10% of the profit. 10% of the profit, right? Not of revenue, just of the profit. Would be $47,000 a student for football players to go to USC.
NFL practice league guys are making not even fucking 10 grand.
Yeah, you should make like 10 grand if you show up.
That's pretty tough.
Well, I mean, they're not.
Why would I go to college if I could just go to a practice league right out of high school and let the NFL develop me?
Why don't they? You have to make that team still.
Yeah,
It's not that easy. Like you're acting like this is so easy to do.
No, I'm not. That's why I'm saying
I just feel
the
talent is going to be there. The talent's going to be there regardless. It's not just going to be handed out to every, fucking eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Like it's literally, it's going to stay the same. The players are just getting money for it now. Talent, they're going to go where they want to go. and then they're just going to get money for it. If they make that decision based off of money, cool. But you're not going to have a player that's at Southern Miss that's still going to be getting recruited by Alabama. If they were, they would obviously be a better prospect. They'd be a better player.
That happens all the time.
What do you mean?
It literally happens all the time. Like
Okay, so if they
we're
decide
like
to
the
go
top
there,
recruit from Southern Miss is like all geared up and ready to go, and last minute Alabama comes in and says, "Hey man, you just got bumped up to a 4-star recruit. I seen a bunch of guys looking at you. Like, do you want to come take an official? You want to come down for the weekend and take an official? Come on down real quick. We might have a spot for you on the roster."
so that happens still, regardless. So now you're just getting paid for it. What is the big?
By the way,
These schools still have to make the decision to bring these kids there to make that money. You act like the schools and the coaches aren't going to try and bring in the best talent as they possibly can. And then all these other schools still get the leftovers. That's what happens. That's literally what happens.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
The top talent.
That's great. That's probably the best point you've made all night. You know, it's
top
literally
talents go to the best schools, as we see in the recruiting classes every single year. The top 10 recruiting classes usually recycle. They're the same top 10 fucking schools, right? Because they still bring in the best talent. So now they're just getting paid for that. And then the rest of the schools are still getting the leftovers. And then those players still get paid for going to those schools. And that, it still doesn't make a difference. There was the defensive end out of Old Dominion this year. He probably wouldn't have gotten paid that much at the school, but he played well enough at Old Dominion to get drafted. It's going to happen regardless. We're just talking about paying these players that are making a revenue for an institution, and they're not seeing anything in return for it. They're seeing $1,600 a month for the time that they're in school.
Which I think is enough. I'm surprised it's even that. I'll be honest. That surprises me that they even pay him that.
So that's $14,400 for 9 months, because they have a 3-month summer, right? 2-month summer. So 1,600 times 10, $16,000. You make more than that, right? I make more than that. Cody makes more than that. But these guys are professional athletes that are making millions of dollars for a university, for an organization, that are just pocketing the money. That's enough? You think that's enough?
Well, so how do you guys feel about the players that are skirting that system? And we haven't seen it so much in football. I don't actually remember the last time we've seen it in football.
Well, they're really good about hiding it.
Well, there's really only one way to go in football, unless you're like a Canadian League guy, you know?
Yeah.
Wait, you put all this in, you give them that money to spend on their recruiting and salaries, and then guess what? Next year, Notre Dame and USC, they only made $7 million in revenue because...
That's not going to fucking happen.
Bullshit. You don't think those numbers tank to save that money off the
No,
top?
because it goes to show that Texas A&M and Texas were the two highest grossing teams in terms of revenue, and they did not have what you would call, you know, Texas had an amazing season this year considering all things, and A&M had like a tumultuous, pretty good season considering they're breaking in a new head coach.
The numbers scare me.
As they should. They scare everybody, but that's real life. That's how much money they make.
For the integrity of the game and recruiting and trying to get all that truthfully done. Yeah, so Texas A&M was $107 million in profit, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Longhorns are at 87. USC is at number 18 at 47.
Yeah, so you take...
Number 25 is Texas Tech
now
at $31 million.
Now Texas gets to spend the most money on recruiting next year.
Which
recruiting
they
and
do,
on their team. Oh,
so I don't like...
They'll go passing around accusations you can't back up.
No. So what I meant by that is that they already spend money to take these trips out. And certain schools can do it better than others. I'm sure the Texas Longhorns have a private jet that they can fly anywhere that they want, and they go see these recruits 24/7. They can do that, right?
We got a whirly bird, bro. We got a
Right.
helicopter.
Exactly. But there's other schools that cannot do that. There's all these other schools that cannot do that. So they are already spending more money on recruiting, not necessarily on recruits, is what I'm saying. Is they're not going to go out and give signing bonuses and everything. That might be underneath the table, but that's already underneath the table. But I'm saying is that until they sign their letter of intent and until they've been enrolled in the university, they cannot make any share of the money that is on the books, per se. Because everything is off the books right now. All that money, a lot of that shit is off the books already. I'm saying once they're enrolled, once they're part of the program, is when they can start monetizing themselves for the university.
Yeah, no, and I honestly,
It'll be just like pro football, but they're also getting their education from there. So why not
honestly,
just make the XFL like that?
I think they should make. Well, and that's the next thing that I kind of wanted to. The last thing, we'll wrap it up with this. Could the NFL and other organizations come together to create some sort of developmental league that rivals the post-high school league that develops players, much like the NBA G League, I believe it's called, and some of these overseas European leagues, like they do? Basically create, like a XFL light or an NFL light, or make the XFL NFL light.
I think that would be the best option.
And you open up that barrier, and you're able to play those players. And I think you have a pretty exciting game. And you'll have a lot of people. It'll diminish college football. The college football as a whole will be against it. The greater institution that makes, billions and billions and billions of dollars on college football every single Saturday when I flip on my computer or flip on my phone as soon as my eyelids open,
And I think that's what's going to stop that from happening.
That's
because
why
the NFL teams don't have to invest any more money into it. Because look at the NBA teams. So the NBA teams have, 12 guys to a roster, 10 guys to a roster, right?
Yeah.
10 to 12 guys per roster. NFL has to cut down to 53. And then they still have more staff. So they're already investing a lot of money. So you're saying that they're going to go invest in a whole nother team to do that? I just don't see that as being profitable for them. We saw the AAF. The problem with the AAF was that it was governed by one body and it was being paid by one body, which was the governing AAF. Whereas in order for that league to be successful, each team would have to put in that revenue to make that money and pay those players in order for them to go and be better.
Right. No, and I definitely hear you. But I think the problem with the AAF was that while the NFL wanted to use it as a developmental league, they wanted to basically, again, use it as another, they weren't rivals with the NFL. And that was the best thing about the AAF, is they tried to partner with the NFL and they tried to team up with them. And, whether
the issue was that they were using has-beens or never wases. They weren't using up-and-coming guys.
The problem is
that had their shot.
The problem is they were using what's called a developmental player rather than marketing them as superstars, or these guys could be these guys could be the next Terrell Owens, or like really diving into the players and the characters of the game, because that's what football is. That's why we both watch every single Sunday and Saturday is the players, you know what I mean, and the coaches, and then those guys. dive into those guys. Tell us about them. Give them a little spotlight, give them a little action. And that's what I think the XFL is going to do a great job of, is selling and promoting and marketing its players.
Are they going to have their nicknames again on their backs?
I don't know. So, kind of a convoluted story. You saw the XFL documentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Charlie Ebersol, I believe his name is, or Dick Ebersol, right? Is the NBC guy that partnered with Vince McMahon on the WWE?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
That whole thing happened. Well, that guy's son, Charlie Ebersol, basically, he was the main TV guy in the AAF. He was the business guy behind, what's his name? Bill Polian, who is like the commissioner or whatever. So I think there's still that Vince McMahon Ebersol connection. So I think you might see that Charlie Ebersol guy go and team up with Vince McMahon or assist in that whole XFL thing. Because I think it could be successful. I really do think it could be successful.
Vince McMahon
because I think
knows
there's a
how
place.
To market people too.
There's a place for guys like Johnny Manziel. There's a place. I wish Johnny was still here, but there's a place for those guys. There's a place for Terrell Owens. It past his prime. There's a place for Chad Johnson past his prime. If they're still getting paid good money, what the fuck do they care? They're gonna get out there.
You're talking about like a big three, like how the big three is like the retired players.
If you didn't see, that's why I thought the flag football thing was so successful, because I thought that was really successful. Like, I thought that was awesome.
The issue with that is how rough a sport football is. We both know from our personal experiences.
I'm not saying you bring out T.O. right now when he's 45, but
you're saying when they retire, but those players, by the end of their careers, they're.
But I'm saying, could you imagine Brett Favre out there right now playing 7-on-7?
That'd be awesome. Oh, so you're talking about 7, but is that really that? I mean, that's fun for like people like you and me to watch. Is people who are avid football fans, but that's not somebody who That's not for the average person to go out and to watch, because they're not going to understand, what's going on. They understand, they're throwing the ball, but they're there on Sundays and on Saturdays to get drunk, watch people get hit for big hits and long touchdowns. It's more for 7-on-7. It's more, or anything like that where it's non-contact. People don't really like that. People like the violence of the game.
Yeah, getting back to the XFL thing. Like, I don't know what their plan is. I don't know what they're trying to do. If they're trying to go through and do the same, kind of like, like really personal inner, and start getting into the characters and introducing storylines and stuff like that. Like, that's why football's so great, is because there's 50 years of storylines and interconnected history and awesomeness. Where.
Yep.
Where the XFL is going to be starting from scratch, and it's going to be kind of like a phoenix reborn, and you're going to start seeing, honestly, I think Vince McMahon will know how to sell his guys. He'll know how to sell those players. He'll know how to market the shit out of those guys.
He's been doing it for years.
He's been doing it for
30+ years. 40
years.
Huh?
Can I piggyback?
Yeah, piggyback. What's up with the XFL, John?
Well, it's not XFL. It goes back to college shit.
Okay.
So you might have to cut this up and chop it in there, but
I'm gonna let it go, baby. I'm gonna let it go.
This is
the Riverside Chat.
There's one thing that we always have said. I know I've always said it, and you fucking talk to anybody. You talk to anybody, and you ask them why. I mean, college football. You like college football more than the NFL, right?
I think in the past that's been true. Over the past few years, I can't say that because I've paid attention to the NFL a lot more than the NCAA.
Is it
because
better,
of fantasy football?
Do you get a better game out of college than you do NFL?
It depends on the game.
Sure. Okay. Well,
you have much more of a variety. Like, if I want to see some points scored, I can flip over here If I want to see, what ESPN thinks is going to be a great game this week, I can flip over here. Ooh, I really like this guy. I could flip over to CBS, and watch this game. Oh, Texas is on ABC this week. Great. Let's go to the bar.
Sure.
It really just depends.
So I was reading something.
I'm listening.
They say the average Joe, you ask them, they want to watch college football. They think it's better than the NFL. Blah blah blah. Because college athletes are getting paid and they're playing to get into the NFL. Everybody says that.
Yeah, I'm listening.
I love watching college football because they don't get paid and they're playing for a spot in the NFL. I was reading something and Andrew Luck's dad is the fucking executive.
Go ahead. Andrew Luck's dad's the executive of the XFL.
No. He's one of the biggest advocates against paying college athletes. He's in the NCAA. He's working in that department, I guess you could call it.
No, he was on the board.
Of course they're going to have those people, though.
Yeah, Oliver Luck is on the board.
People.
Right. So they're saying
he's on the college football selection committee. Oliver Luck is.
It just brought up something that I didn't think of. They say that the NFL's popularity is declining because of corruption and they're money hungry, and they go towards money over anything else. They were saying you start paying college athletes, they stop eating at cafeterias, they stop living in residence halls, they start living out by themselves. The fans don't connect, the student body doesn't connect with these guys as much because they're not around as much. So the whole atmosphere of that crazy college game day goes more to an NFL setting where it's just kind of fucking bland.
NFL setting's not bland, though. I mean, look at the Bills Mafia. Like, people go there and they tailgate and they have great times hours before the games are even started.
That's because
I went to the Rams game.
Where it's at.
But I went to a Rams game and it was awesome beforehand. They have, tailgate parties. That's a huge part of the NFL experience is going to the games and going to the pregame, going to the tailgate and just having a great time, barbecuing, getting drunk. It's the same on both. It's really the same. The difference is there's college kids and then there's adults. That's really the only difference. They're both going before the game to get drunk, to pregame. A lot of universities actually don't allow tailgating, like tailgate parties and stuff like that. So, they have to be at the house and pre-gaming, then go to the game early, grab your drinks and be inside, drinking and eating and doing all of that. Whereas, in the NFL, I think it's all around that you can, tailgate and have a great time and do all of that. So I don't think that changes the experience whatsoever. I think that's the issue here is I don't think that it changes really anything except for, I mean, I'm probably wrong, but I think it just helps these players have a backing in case anything does happen, that these players are more comfortable and, they're not so stressed out about, oh, if I get hurt, then, my future's gone. I don't have a future. I can't go to school. I can't do this. I can't do that. Whereas if they were getting paid, then they would have some backing to help them start something in case they do get injured in college, in case they can't finish, they can't finish their time at the university and get their degree. And so if they did the 10% for USC, right, it was $54,000 or $53,000 to go there. They get paid $47,000 a year for the first 2 years, and then they get hurt in their second year, but they still get paid for that second year. So they have 83,000, or what is that? That's 84,000. No, 94,000. Sorry, my math was wrong. So that's 94,000. So they have to come up only with $10,000 to finish their time at the university in order to finish their degree, rather than, now they don't have any backing. They have to go get into student loan debt like the rest of them, even though that they gave 2 years of their life for the university to play football there. Not saying that those students or those student athletes would use that money for that or save their money properly in order for them to do that. But I'm saying that would give them the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, no, I think you might just have, a bunch of. It might honestly end up being just a bunch of wild, crazy football players, running around, running around campus,
It already is.
buying a bunch of nice houses and having nice cars and
You can't buy a nice house off of that.
Bro, man, you can buy a nice 5-bedroom in a college town for $100,000. You know what I mean? If you're gonna be there for a couple of
Not
years.
Here.
Huh? You get 10 football players together, start pooling their money.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Bro, that's gonna be like a fucking nightclub.
It
that's
already is, though. They already have
$500,000 for a year. Yeah, but dude.
You go to a fucking
but now you gotta add.
party and
it's gonna get even worse. It's gonna double. It'll be worse.
It's gonna make it. I think it might. I think it might end up making it a little bit worse. You're right.
Could you imagine if the? Oh my God, who are the guys from Michigan? The 5 basketball players. I'm blanking.
The Fab
Five.
Jalen Rose, Mike Weber.
Yeah, what were their names?
The Fab Five.
Fab Five. God damn it. Fab Five. You might have to cut this out. This is gonna probably sound racist, but you get these fucking ghetto dudes who come from a hardship of drug dealing, inner city kids. They start getting that money and they start cycling it back into the fucking ghetto to the gangs and shit. That's
There's consequences for that.
Hurt.
There's consequences for that. It's not like you guys are acting like these kids are just going to go back and they could lose their scholarship still. They could lose playing for the football team.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Well, I mean, some of those kids, man. I mean, you see some of those last chance
that happens
kids.
Already.
I mean, they're going to be. It's going to be a problem.
But there's the ultimate goal is to make it to the NFL, and the NFL has a hard process to go through because they want good players, they want good people in there.
Yeah.
And it's a hard process to go through. So if the ultimate goal is to get there, you think that these kids are really going to be doing this shit to jeopardize that?
Absolutely.
100%.
Okay, then fuck them. Then they're not going to be able to play. They're going to play their 4 years in college. They're going to do whatever it is they need to do, and then they're just going to be nobody. You're never going to hear their name again.
You're going to start seeing if this whole thing goes the way that I think it will, you're going to start seeing kids holding out like their senior year of football and saving and just like finishing up class but not playing their senior year of football. Yeah,
people do that.
The touchdown, they're sliding, they're going out of bounds.
In college, they do that. I'm talking about in high school.
Kids leave early.
I know.
Kids don't play their senior year because they already have a scholarship after their junior year, and they leave in December to go play spring ball. They already do that.
Or they full blown reclassify and leave an entire summer early. That JT Daniels kid. Yeah, that JT Daniels kid did it, and that was kind of crazy.
I mean, all this stuff that we're talking about is already going on. The only difference is that we would be giving them the money in order to help support.
I want to see numbers, man. That's why I want to see this happen. I want to see numbers. I want to see Tua Tagovailoa just re-upped his deal. He's going to be on for $120,000 a season, for the next 2 years.
Oh, that's fucking ridiculous. That's what I'm saying is that I don't think
you're gonna have agents. You're gonna have
you limit that. That's what I'm talking about with the NCAA.
You're gonna have shoe deals. Tua Tagovailoa just signed a 2-year, $120 million shoe deal with Nike.
But this is what I'm saying though.
Largest ever for NCAA player.
NCAA needs to have a law, basically a law book saying everything that they can and cannot do. Like they do now, and they have to follow it to the T. If they don't, then there's sanctions.
I'm a firm believer that everybody should be under sanction right now because I think everybody does it. I'm a firm believer in that.
So with Alabama,
yeah, let's talk about this really quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Last topic. Okay, are you going into Alabama possibly paying their guys?
Yes.
Good. Go.
So Alabama, their profit margin was $59 million last year. So we're talking
Low. That's after
Right.
the skim. That's after the skim.
their revenue is 127 million, so they put a lot of the money back into their coaches. So $59 million in their facility. So $59 million is their profit from that. So 10% of that is $5.9 million. So $5.9 million divided by 100 players is $59,000 a year for everybody. So 60 grand a year for everybody.
Okay.
Is that so bad for those players?
It's a lot of money, man.
It's a lot of money, man.
60 grand is a lot of money.
60 grand is a lot of money, but they're
Quite
also
honestly-
making
Cody,
that
could you
school
imagine if you had
$59
60
million?
grand when because we were good kids, we were smart fucking kids. You know, we weren't pieces of shit. We were probably a lot smarter and better kids than a lot of people that we met through all those years together. Could you imagine if you handed some of those people that we knew from certain places 60 grand?
I
You
know
know what
what
I'm
you're
saying?
talking about.
With all due respect,
That
you
town,
guys were not five-star athletes.
that
You guys
town would have
did
been
not have.
turned
not have
upside
that.
down. No. But
Hey, you don't think that's
make
going
a
to hurt
good
the
point.
game at all? I mean, shit.
What
man,
he's
that's-
saying.
Then they don't
he's
play.
saying-
That's what I'm saying is that they don't play. That's up to the schools to buy into the program still.
What he's saying is like a Baylor situation where guys were allegedly getting paid, and the town went to shit. Waco went to shit a second time.
And look at that. But look at them now. They reap the consequences of their actions.
Very careful with your words there, Duck. Be very careful. So
Duke lacrosse.
yeah, exactly.
That
Yeah,
was a
same
fucking
situation.
scandal. That
So
never
I
happened.
mean,
That was a
honestly,
super scandal.
I think there's no right answer, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because there's no like yes or no question to it. They're already getting paid. Question is, should we pay them more? Should we pay them a percentage of, TV rights, TV, and do you end up seeing TV profits? Do you end up seeing player unions? Do you end up seeing player representation of some sort, of some kind? Whether it's after they're done playing for the university, or while they're playing for the university. Like, again, man, could you imagine if, like, hey, you come to our university, we'll give you a full ride scholarship, okay, and we'll give you $200,000 the day that you graduate.
Where that's too much. That's what
As
I'm
an
saying.
I think
as
that
an
would make them
athlete,
work
as an
towards it.
athlete,
They already do that.
as an athlete, you're talking about paying them how much? $47,000 or
For
how much
USC.
for Alabama? What was Alabama?
60.
What was that?
59.
59? Yeah. We'll pay you $59,000 over 4 years the day that you graduate in a lump sum check.
So the day that. So then that's on the school, though.
We'll guarantee your scholarship through injury.
Okay, that's on the school then. What do
What
you
about
mean?
back
That's
pay?
on,
You're
that's
going
on
to
the
back
school.
pay all the other guys who didn't get paid?
No.
That's what I'm
this is-
saying. That's what I'm saying is that
this
it's a
here and
yearly
now.
thing. I think that's a yearly thing.
Yeah, I don't think
You get
college
paid,
athletes
you
start
get paid
getting
at the
paid.
beginning
I
of the year.
guarantee you people are going to start going
So
after back pay. Back pay is a real thing.
$59,000 divided by 12 is $5,000 a month.
There's
So
a reason
you get
they're
paid
not
an extra.
doing
You
it.
get paid an extra $5,000 a
Bro,
month.
Could you imagine if you got an extra $5,000 a month?
It's a lot of money, man. That's a lot more than any average American.
I'm saying you
makes.
get paid an extra $5,000 a month so that they don't have. You act like that's gonna hurt these schools.
I don't think it's going to make them any nicer. I think you're going to have wilder parties. I think you're going to have wilder things going on. I think you're
But
going
you
to
act
have
like these. You
more
act like these
rampant
schools aren't
behavior.
gonna do
I think
anything
you're going to have
about
to
it.
spend more on security and policing and give more back to local authorities and such. I think you're going to have to put more into, safety
Your scandals will go
and
up. That's
safety
for sure.
training. Yeah, all
You want to
that.
think about the scandals you'd have of people trying to get
I
money
don't
out
think
of
so
these
because
guys.
it's all gonna be out there.
I really do
I
feel
think-
like
it'll be less.
girls who know the starting quarterback makes $80,000. I mean, that's crazy. Like, oh, yeah, that's that's Joe over there. He's a starting quarterback. He makes $80,000. That guy's gonna be swarmed. That guy couldn't even go to class if he wanted to.
I don't think that's true.
And they flock for money, bro.
That's $60,000 a year without having. You have no expenses. What expenses do you have?
Yeah,
paying
and
the
now
water
you're
bill in
talking
your
about
dorm?
You don't live on campus.
I barely
That
understand.
That does for all of that. So they take away that $1,600 stipend and you just give them that.
I
So
barely
you have to live
understand.
off of that in the town. That pays for your food. So that'll take away from, food on campus, anything like that. So they will go because let's be realistic about it. You only can go to these fucking places. It's like 3 times a day that you can swipe your card, right? You're hungry more than 3 times a day. I'm hungry more than 3 times a day. Cody's hungry more than 3 times a day.
You ain't never heard of a to-go box?
To go where?
Oh, and they have such good food, right, at those cafeterias.
It wasn't bad.
You figure it out.
You
Like,
get some grilled chicken
yeah, you sit in line long enough, you get a grilled chicken
and chicken patty
and a chicken patty
with cheese.
with cheese. Hey, can
So it
you
looks
grill
like they
some?
turned you, Cody.
Hey, I grabbed you some onions. Can you grill up some onions for me? Anyways, so yeah, guys, I think we'll wrap it up there. I don't know that there's a right answer for any of this. I mean, closing arguments, anybody?
No, said my piece.
They don't need to be paid.
Okay. Well, we'll live to fight another day. Hey, again, guys, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at OutspokenGents. You can also go to youtube.com/OutspokenGents, and that's where you can find us. Hit subscribe and like. We also have a website, www.outspokengents.com. It might actually just be outspokengents.com. I'll have to check that out. So yeah.
Yeah, cut that shit out.
Thanks for joining us. Talk to you soon.
And
Ciao.
And
that's it.
oh,
yay. Fucking.
Nothing? You got nothing? Littering and...
Literally.
Littering and...
And then